What is up, guys and girls? It's GhostRobo. Welcome back to the show where we talk about my high school years. Last time we wrapped up my freshman year, this time kicking off the 10th grade season. I moved into a house. It was too expensive back then in California to buy, so we just rented a pretty cool house. Just to give you a lay of the land. No basement because it's Southern California. My bedroom was right next to my brother Jake's bedroom. Noah was a little baby, so he slept with my parents in their room. It was just a three-bedroom house. We had upstairs a little loft, not a full upstairs, but just a loft where my gaming stuff was set up, my computer. That's where, or I guess not mine at that point, it was my family's. Although, I will let you know that all throughout my life, I did buy all my own gaming stuff. My mom was never against gaming, like, you can't play this, it's childish. But she preferred us to be outside or do more active things, so I basically bought majority of my games, or almost all my games, with my own money. That being said, summer was pretty cool. It was fun to be in California, fun to have nice weather every day, fun to, just K with my brother. Jake and me were like best buds, and we still are pretty much to this day. We'd play, basketball in the street. My driveway was at such a crazy slope that I couldn't set up the hoop in the driveway. We tried, and it just didn't work. You had to angle all your shots, and it was weird and screwed up my form. So played basketball in the street, played a lot of frisbee catch, as weird as that sounds, because we had a really wide street. It was California, and the streets were way wider than what I was used to. So it was a fun summer. I had some tennis friends. I took some tennis lessons. I really wanted to improve. I had so much fun in tennis. And I think because basketball did not work out my freshman year, I probably overcompensated by practicing a lot of tennis and not a lot of basketball. Now, in hindsight, I wish I would have practiced more basketball. I started to do basketball private lessons. I had a lot of people tell me I should be working out because I grew 10 inches my freshman year, but only gained 10 pounds. So I was now a little over 6 foot and about 125 pounds, which is insanely skinny. I was not anorexic. I was not, ridiculous, but I was very, very thin. I was fast. I was athletic, but I was very thin. And it gave off the appearance like I was not ready to compete in high school basketball. I was. I could shoot the lights out. I was a very smart player. I knew exactly what I was doing, but it gave off the appearance like I wasn't ready to play. So I started my sophomore year, and I was very into my journalism class. I mean, if you remember, I was the sports editor my freshman year, which is kind of a big accomplishment, and this year I maintained that role, but I sort of oversaw some other sections. My teacher, who I loved, also became my AP English teacher, so I really got to know him, and he was also my tennis coach, if you remember, so some real great bonding going on there. Just really, it's really good to have a teacher that you really can trust and love and feel, close to, and get opinions from. It's just like a really good feeling, especially in high school. And I also had my freshman English teacher, who I'd still go see and hang out with at lunch, as goofy as that sounds. We'd talk sports and other kids. He was the golf team coach, so I'd interact with some of those kids and just kind of, hang out that way. But back to journalism, they realized I was probably the best writer in the paper, and so they decided to give me more responsibility. I helped teach other writers. I helped sort of monitor other sections. I was kind of in charge of more than just my own, even though officially I was just the sports editor. I believe I spent some time as a features editor, sometimes as the news editor, I think, for a little bit, mainly sports, though, because that was where my passion lie. But I also really started helping with the laying out of the paper. It was one thing to write cool articles. It was another thing to make it a really good-looking paper, and that's something I really tried to spend a lot of time focusing on the first year. I had a lot of resistance. Everybody else on the staff was girls, and nothing against girls, but, they wanted to do things their way. They thought they knew better. They thought I was crazy. I don't know. They didn't really like to listen so much, and so we didn't have the paper that I wanted to have, and it led to some frustrating moments, although I love the teacher and I love the class, and I was very, very excited for basketball season to start. I did not run cross-country that year in order to focus on basketball. I did a lot of private training. I did a lot of just, like, practicing, ouch, practicing with my dad and brothers, and, oh my god, practicing all over the place. And so basketball season kind of rolled around. The first semester was kind of uneventful, and basketball came, and I was like super sure that this was it. Like, I was better. I was tall now. I was like, dude, if he didn't like me because I was skinny, he'll love me because I'm tall. I ran into the same problem. The coach was already from the very first day of tryout saying things like, you really got to bulk up. You really got to get bigger. What's going on? I'm worried about you. And I was like, oh god, this is not looking good. So I feel like this year I was even more dominant in tryouts than I was the year before. And so, in spite of his comments, I was like, you know what? I feel really sure of myself. The coaches were watching me shoot. I could hear them talking, you know, debating whether I was worthy for the team. And I sure as heck felt I was. But as I'm sure you can sense from my tone of voice, I ended up getting cut again, and I was furious. I asked the coach what was wrong, and he basically said, your body just isn't what I feel is ready for high school basketball. I was pissed off. I did not want to be manager this year, so I stopped showing up at team events. I didn't even go to the rest of the, you know, the beginning stuff of the season. I was like fed up, and I decided to dedicate everything to tennis. And in some ways, it was like probably the most disappointing choice I'd ever made. And in other ways, it was one of the best, because tennis ended up becoming my favorite thing in high school. It ended up becoming the most successful thing in high school, and become where I made all my friends in California, and just a really, really great experience. So I trained hardcore for tennis. I ended up switching up partners. We had a new kid on the team. He was a freshman. He was 6'9", and he quit basketball because he was too afraid. He didn't want to play basketball. His parents really wanted him to. The coaches, of course, wanted him to. He could dunk flat-footed, but he was too intimidated and too much pressure, so he played tennis instead. And I was happy because of that, because now we had me, 6 foot and long left-handed, him 6'9", super long and right-handed. So we played doubles together, #1 doubles, and we could cover the court so freaking well. This partnership started off pretty well. We started off winning. Now, again, remember, my school started off with just freshmen and sophomores, so now we had juniors. So we moved up in divisions. We moved up to a higher level of competition, into a new league, and we were tearing through. We were undefeated for the majority of the first half of the season. I believe even the whole first half of the season. My partner's name was Jared. Me and Jared was a little bit of a goofy guy. He'd talk about awkward things like playing ping pong against himself at home, or being deathly afraid of blood, and his backpack was gigantic. But, you know, he was a nice enough kid, and we had fun and did good. Now, as the season kind of neared its completion, we were vying for a league title. And this is a pretty big accomplishment, because we were still a young school, even though we were pretty darn big. So we ended up playing our #1 rival, the team who was in first place, and we were playing them on our home court. So I was like, this is the match. I was super pumped and ready to go. We started off on freaking fire, and I was so pumped and so excited. About halfway through, Jared gave up. He got intimidated, he got scared. I don't know if his parents were watching or what freaked him out, but he basically said, I can't do this. I don't know, I can't do it. I'm done. What really made me mad was that there was a call, and in tennis, if you play tennis, you know that in high school tennis, if there's a close call and you call it, you expect your partner to back you up. You know, you may obviously be a little biased towards yourself, and you may not 100% be sure if it was the right call or not, but you make a call and you stick by it. And in this match, towards the end, it was very close, and Jared overturned my call. I said the ball was out, and he said, no, I don't think it was, and therefore we were forced to give them a critical point in a critical game. If you can imagine me being very competitive and very into this match, and it being very important, me looking forward to it all year, it was devastating. I was so pissed. We ended up losing the match, and I just took 2 tennis balls and smashed them into the school, because into the courtyard of the school, not into a wall, but you know, over the fences into the school. And the school principal was watching. My coach was not pleased one bit, but I explained my frustration and said, this is ridiculous. I viewed this as a very competitive thing, and he just was not ready to go. So we ended our season. We did not win our league, and I asked for a new partner. I said, you know, I don't feel comfortable playing with Jared. He is not ready to go. We went to our individual finals, which was down at a big tennis arena in California, Ojai, California, I believe, called Indian Wells. It wasn't Ojai, I'm not sure where it's at, but it's called Indian Wells, and it's the place where they have a lot of big tennis tournaments, professional tournaments. We're playing, again, against the same guys we lost to, if you can believe this or not. Jared, in the middle of the match, freaks out yet again, says, I cannot do this, I cannot do it. He goes and apologizes to my parents, saying, I'm sorry, I let down Zach. And I'm like, well, freak that. I don't care that you apologize to my parents. I wanted to win this thing, and all of a sudden, you're babying out on me at the last minute when it counts most. So I was completely fed up. I thought, you know, that I would just simply get a new partner, but a strange twist happened on the bus ride back from Indian Wells. The strange twist was that Jared decided to say that it was my fault that we lost because I was pressuring you too much. Now, if you can imagine, I'm already furious, and this was like the last straw. This is the complete last straw that I've had. I'm fed up with Jared. I'm sick of his BS. I'm sick of him, you know, trying to blame it on me when clearly he just wimped out and couldn't handle the pressure. Gotta calm down here. Take a deep breath, Ghost. But I was pissed off, and he tried to blame it on me, so I went to my coach, who was also my journalism teacher, who was also my AP English teacher, and I said, you know what? For team finals, I don't want him on as my partner. I can't have it. I can't take it. I got a little emotional because I was pissed off. I'm like, you know, I gave this team my all. I gave this season my all. And it's completely unfair for him to try to blame it on me when he just wimped out, basically. So I switched partners. to a kid who had been ineligible all season. Now, this might have been a risky move because he was great ineligible all season. But I knew this guy well, and in practice I saw that he was really doing good. He'd been practicing all year, even if he had been not able to play in matches. And I was like, I think this is the perfect partner. He's got nothing to lose. He's not in his head. He's not tired. He's fresh and ready to go. So his name is Simon, and me and Simon were partners, #1 double partners, for the league tournament. We ended up winning our matches. We swept, hopefully leading our team to victory. The rest of my team kind of fell flat. Some of the singles players really let us down, and we ended up losing in the first round, which was frustrating, but I felt very darn good about myself and about the fact that I ended up playing with Simon. I didn't have to deal with Jared anymore. I knew for a fact I wasn't going to be with Jared the next year. I could not put up with his nonsense any longer. But a strange thing happened to me. After that match, the basketball coach saw me walking through school and said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I was like, "Sure." I know, do you want to talk about basketball? Was he really impressed that I won? You know, was he going to give me some, big pat on the back for doing a good job even though our team lost? And he said, "You know what killer instinct is, Zach?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You don't have it." And I was like, "What the heck?" He's like, "You guys were up 3-0 and ended up winning 6-4 in that playoff match." And I was like, "Oh, come on." He was complaining that we didn't win straight up, saying I didn't have killer instinct. Tennis is a very difficult game. Serves, depending on who's serving, different things like that, guys can get hot. It's not all your fault. And I was just pissed as heck at him, and almost to the point where I did not want to play basketball anymore for this school. Luckily, at the end of my sophomore year, this coach resigned because he was moving to a assistant principal position, and therefore he could not handle coaching anymore. Also, a lot of parents were getting fed up with his jerkish, nasty ways and kind of sick and tired of what he had going on. And so they decided to, he decided to leave before he got fired, I think was the way things worked. So basketball was looking a little bit up for the next season, but school was also going pretty good. I was making more friends. I was feeling more comfortable. I was enjoying time, like I said, with my 2 English teachers who I really, really respected and liked and who really connected with me, about sports, about school, about, academics at a higher level. A lot of kids just wanted to tank their way through, and that wasn't my interest. I had some bad classes. Spanish was boring. My teacher was a complete klutz. She'd leave class in the middle of class, right? It was my Spanish teacher. She was about mid-30s woman. She was recently divorced. And she'd be like, "I have to go to my car," in the middle of class, mind you. And this is a public school, and so this typically isn't something that you'd see. Most teachers would stay in the classroom. It wasn't like a private school, small school. It's a big school. And all the kids in the class, thought maybe she's like meeting a guy, or maybe she's whatever. Some kids even claim that they saw her, making out with her boyfriend in the parking lot, which I could never believe, but it might have been true. She was that crazy. And it was just one of those like really funny, just dumb high school teacher moments that you had. And, I had more fun. I was getting used to the area. There was really no more sense of wanting to go back to Michigan. I was enjoying my time in California. I still was missing the best friend that I would have liked to have. But over the summer, I started really hanging out with the #1 singles player on my team. His name was Mike, and we had a lot of fun. We played video games together. Xbox 360 had just come out, and sort of had a blast with that. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed hanging out with him, and we played tennis a lot. I was getting a lot better. I missed a checkpoint, and it was a lot of fun. We ended up starting now I sort of view it as kind of like a very silly thing because it was kind of a high school age thing to do. But we tried to start a clothing company basically where we designed T-shirts, and I look back on it was when I was first learning Photoshop. So they weren't very good at all. Some cool designs. Maybe I'll dig them out and show you guys at some point. But it was a fun thing to do over the summer. Just kind of a fun way to interact. I'm completely screwing up this race, so we're gonna have to redo it next time, but it made for a fun summer and a fun way to interact, and I was prepping myself for who I was gonna pick for my tennis partner for junior year. Junior year was my favorite year of high school, my biggest year sports-wise, and a fun one, and that's where we'll pick up next time. Got a lot to talk about there, a lot of drama, a lot of good stuff, so stay tuned. Hit that like button if you're enjoying it and want to see more and hear more about my high school years. Till next time, though, guys and girls, drink some hot chocolate. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all later.